Michael Braverman's with us for 5 minutes in the next hour. Then Bob Chapman joins us. Rand Paul is going to be joining us for his first interview with us since he became senator-elect. That's going to be extremely informative. But going back in the time we have left in this short segment, 10 o'clock tonight, folks, and it's exciting to see the ratings going up and up and up and up each episode as people see how hardcore this year's conspiracy theory is. Let's continue with the different bombshells that you can give us a first look at here, Michael.
Yeah, thanks. And also, I want to say to everybody, I think the support of your audience, Alex, is helping us. So I want to just make an appeal again to everybody to tune in tonight at 10. Tell your friends, tell your relatives, especially tell any of your young friends. And if you're young, watch the show because we need young viewers. That's all the network cares about is young viewers. So it'll help keep us on the air, and obviously that's everybody's goal. So thanks for that. Except for the men in suits breaking into things and in people's trash. And well, yeah, listen, as you say, people do not like this show. And as I said before, I call it the miracle show, the fact that we're on the air, we got it on the air, and what will keep us on the air is ratings. Well, I mean, let's be honest, though. I mean, you were sworn to secrecy. Ventura may speak out about it. Now some of it's come out in the press, so I can say a little bit. You know, people are like, well, tell us. Well, if people tell me things in confidence, then I can't tell people. That's how that works. Or then you're known for not being able to be in somebody's confidence. But, I mean, this is not hype. I mean, you know, one of the shows is not re-aired, and I guess probably never will, the police state episode. I mean, you guys are under pressure. I mean, this is a real show. This is upsetting the system. Yeah, well, there's no doubt that there are people against this show. And as I told you before, you know, there's certain things I can't talk about. It doesn't even have to do with the police state episode. It's bigger than that. There are some forces out there that I know from intermediaries, because I've made a lot of contacts doing this show. They want this show off. They do not want this show on. They don't want the information out of there. Remember, you have a huge audience, but remember, the potential audience of TruTV is 93 million households. 93 million. And they know that it's people who've never been exposed to the truth, most of them, because, I mean, they've aired last season's episodes more than 50 times apiece. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about hundreds of millions of people being able to see this. Yeah, it's amazing. And what they're going to see tonight, Alex, is so explosive that I don't think people will believe it. I think people are going to watch it and go, are you kidding me? So we talked about the Gulf Oil, and we talked about the BP, and I talked about, you know, they purchased this cleanup company. Now we're talking about Corexit, and Corexit is this incredibly toxic stuff. There are dispersants that work much better, that are organically based, that use bacteria, but no, BP didn't use those. They used Corexit 9500. Now why? Well, the reason is because there's huge connections. Hold on, stay there. Back in 1 minute, 5 more minutes with Michael Braverman, then Bob Chapman, Rand Paul, and many others.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Bob Chapman's joining us coming up in the next segment, and I'll use that time with him as we got so many other guests coming on to get into the WikiLeaks situation, cover the latest on government surveillance, what's happening with the economy, the TSA, that's all coming up. We got about 5 minutes left with Michael Braverman, and I'm telling you, these shows, and I didn't call them and tell them this last season because they were great, but this year with the police state and the water, I mean, I call them after I see it and I say, I can't believe that just went on television. I mean, this is a first. And for those that have heard me hype it, I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of emails going, wow, you weren't joking about these new shows. In fact, it's more powerful than what you even said. Remember, this isn't Alex Jones on the radio and the internet. This is television on a mainline network, and the globalists are upset. Michael, in closing, we got about 4 minutes. Run through the other bullet points. Okay, I'll go quick. So we know about Corexit. We covered that, and just understand that that company is hugely connected to BP. Okay, now we move on to what the end game is. And what is the end game? What we're going to present to you tonight at 10 o'clock is the BP oil spill is not just something that just happened. It's connected. And it's connected to, starting with Katrina and the government's
ridiculous response to Katrina. We believe, and we're going to present some evidence that is absolutely explosive.
You have the documents.
We have the documents.
This is confirmed. You don't want to let them know?
Well, I'm going to tell them something. And that is the big oil companies. Remember I told you how huge they are, how you can't calculate how much money they have? And big government, big oil and big government are joined together, and the plan, the plot, the conspiracy is to turn Louisiana and the whole Gulf Coast into a giant oil depot, a huge oil refinery. Because remember this, 30% of America's oil, 30%, comes through 2 ports in Louisiana. And what's in Louisiana? A whole bunch of pesky fishermen, a bunch of pesky environmentalists, a bunch of loudmouths. They want to get rid of them. They want to get rid of them because they want to have their way with the state and the whole Gulf. And if you all don't believe me, and if it sounds like I'm just hyping and I'm just yelling and screaming in the wilderness, watch the show.
Well, you know what's incredible, Michael? At the Cancun meeting, we have the official UN document. It talks about forced relocations of populations worldwide out of areas that cause a large carbon footprint. And so it's all about forcing people out of areas, and you guys got the documents, particularly that's what they plan. That's why they won't let anybody rebuild down there. They want them gone.
They want them gone. And we get the Corps of Engineers, and Jesse puts them on the hot seat, and I'm just going to tell you, you guys will not believe it.
Is this even more powerful? Because I wasn't there for that. I was down there only for a few days.
Yeah.
Is this even more powerful than the congressman crapping his pants?
Oh, you guys won't believe it. You're going to watch this, and you're going to see these people, and they think they're just going to have a really nice interview. And I'll admit one thing. I did surprise them because they didn't know it was Jesse interviewing them. And we set it up, and Jesse walks out, and the guy goes, "Oh, that's Jesse Ventura." Now, he was a PR flack, but with him was this very mysterious Dr. Reese. And you're just not going to believe what you see. You're just not going to believe it. And I'm right there, and I'm filming it, and I'm producing it, and I'm going, I don't believe this. I mean, we caught these people, right there on the open.
With their pants down.
Yeah, with their pants down. It was 115 degrees, and I'm thinking, like, we just caught you people, and you're sweating, and it ain't because it's 115.
And they were making Jesse for the show wear that black suit.
Well, I make him do
I know, that poor guy.
He's mad at me for that, but anyway. But it's pretty explosive, and I think if you watch it to the end, and you're going to go, this show isn't just blowing smoke. It's not just blowing smoke. You see these people, you see them sweat, you see them tremble, and you're going, oh, my God.
Well, Michael Braverman, it's 10 o'clock tonight, Eastern, 9 Central, TruTV. Amazing. Look forward to talking to you next week for the Pentagon episode. God bless you.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Well, he joins us every Friday. He's only with us for a half hour, regrettably, today, because the producer so jam-packed the show, which is great. But it's a catch-22. Senator Rand Paul, elect, coming up later. James Delingpole covering the attempted world government UN takeover. Criminal confab going on down in Cancun, Mexico, that's falling apart again, thank God, as the fraud comes out. But since Michael Braverman for Conspiracy Theory was talking about the government documents they got, this is confirmed that this is part of a relocation program on the Gulf Coast from about the middle of Texas on the coast all the way over to Florida. And so they just want to set the precedent, get everybody used to pollution, shut down the smaller companies that can't make the payoffs, and then only allow the big 3 oil companies in there. Just like the bill in food safety, publicly written by big agribusiness to shut down small farms and ranches. Just like the health care bill, it's now hundreds a week of waivers to big mega corporations like McDonald's and others. You don't have to get insurance for your employees, but everybody else does. Nobody can compete against that. It's all about vertical integration. But here's the Special Climate Change Program, 2009-2012 summary, executive summary, and we've written articles about this, and it says on page 6, forced relocation of populations to lower their carbon footprint. Bob Chapman, I mean, this is what the game's all about. You always talk about the double set of rules. Wesley Snipes gets 3 years in prison, even though he was found not guilty on the big charge. Rangel clearly not paying millions in taxes. He gets a slap on the wrist because they're above the law. Talk about that.
I think as far as the corporations are concerned, it's a perfect example of corporatist fascism. And you talk about vertical integration, and that's exactly what it is. You hit it spot on. And there is a double standard. The gentleman, Mr. Snipes, should have never gone to jail. I mean, they've had far worse cases than that, and the people have walked with a fine. And they're setting him up as an example. Rangel is a dreadful person, and he belongs in jail. Did you see the picture with his son reported a theft inside of the government Cadillac that he was driving?
Yes.
They don't care. They believe that they're above the law and they can do anything they want to do.
It's amazing. Of this full spectrum of news out there, let's get into WikiLeaks first. Assange lawyers are preparing for U.S. spying indictment. I had John Young, who registered the WikiLeaks name. He really is the original WikiLeaker. He says stuff on the Vatican's coming out, on banks, on torture chambers, on our government trafficking and WMDs. That's pretty scary.
Well, I hope it comes out. We need it. And but on the other hand, we, as you said last week, we have to make sure that Mr. Assange is treated fairly and that this thing is not going to turn into let's kill the Internet.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're calling it the Patriot Act for the Internet. And Young made the key point, and of course you were in intelligence, you can talk about this, that they're giving us good tidbits, but notice it's basically a regurgitation of the same pro-war, anti-Iran, anti-Pakistan propaganda. And Iran and Pakistan both say they concur with your analysis that this is staged. But there's other tidbits about DynCorp and child trafficking and things that are mixed in there. So they're doing this to get credibility, and then they're going to start releasing stuff on Russia and other enemies. So let's talk about that.
Well, it reminds me of a typical disinformation situation where you get 95% truth, even though it's regurgitated truth, and then they get their 5% in the message, sort of what Glenn Beck has been doing. And this is what they're up to here. It's an exercise in disinformation. We could get some goodies out of it, but they'll deliberately put them in there, knowing that no harm will come from it eventually, and it'll make it seem like all of the information is bona fide.
For what's coming up, targeting specific banks that are enemies of Soros. And the Soros connection is 100% clear. We predicted months ago that Assange is a useful idiot who would probably be burned, imprisoned, or killed. And now no bond for not using a condom in consensual sex. I mean, boy, I tell you, this is tyranny.